What is going on, FA Nation? My name is Justin Fensterman, along with my little Scott Proctor, Howard Bender, and this is another episode of Fantasy Alarm Sports Talk. It's crazy, Howard. I feel like it's almost like July 4th again, all these fireworks when it comes to news regarding fantasy football as a whole, man. But we power through because there isn't any other option.
I'm just drawing a blank on a name that I want to call you right now. I didn't properly prepare for this live stream, I guess.
You want to know what my backup name was for you?
Oh, please.
Turk Wendell. The shark tooth man with that necklace.
Well, for those of you who don't understand this dates back to a long time ago when Justin and I were working on Sirius XM together, and he was the producer of the Fantasy Alarm Show. We just started pulling out random baseball names from like past fantasy times. And I mean, it was pretty funny. So my little Richard Hidalgo, let's get that on track here. I don't know. Right? That's the best I can pull was Hidalgo right now. I don't even know if you know who he is.
No, I don't. I don't know anything anymore, Howard. I don't know anything anymore. But what I do know, Howard, is that despite everything going on around us, as been the theme for 2020, we still powered through. We got waivers to talk about. We've got injuries to talk about. We're still trying to work with what we got. And while everybody was freaking out going into last weekend because 24 hours before we find out that all of a sudden the New England KC game is hanging in the balance, a few of my commissioners of other leagues that I'm in decided to send out messages about making sure that you have substitutions. Now, we didn't offer substitutions for the Titans-Steelers game. Felt we had enough time. This situation, though, less than 24 hours, my commissioners felt this way. I agreed with it. I enacted it in my leagues. And I've had industry people come after me. Not people in my leagues. They were praising me for once. Normally, I met with nothing but criticism. They were praising me and thanking me for caring. But I met with some of these old heads from the industry that are saying, you can't change rules mid-season. And I don't understand why, because if I want to go the extra mile as the commissioner to bring what I think is fairness, I feel like that's what you do in this type of environment.
And I can understand where you're coming from here, and I can appreciate the fact that finally nobody's jumping up your butt as a commissioner. But the fact of the matter is that, this is something that should have been handled preseason. This isn't something that should have waited until then. You should have had IR spots already locked in, or you should have increased the bench spots completely. If you were worried about the fact that there could be a last minute thing. And we've talked about this. We've talked about this on the live streams. Craig Mish and I have talked about it on Wager Alarm. We've talked about it on the show, both Alarm After Hours and the Fantasy Alarm Show, that you need to COVID-proof your league. And by that, I mean, just set up possible, scenarios. And that being another, if you're only going by waiver bidding, by fab budget, okay, then you have to add a second one that goes from Saturday night to Sunday morning. You have to do it. And we told you guys that you had to do it. And the problem is right now, and the only reason that you're getting flack is probably from people who were proactive and did it beforehand. They're like, oh, no, you can't change the... Justin, when I was coming up in the fantasy industry, you couldn't change rules and you didn't give out participation trophies. That's the kind of crap that you're probably getting from those stodgy old farts. Well, good for them for doing it. It's nice what you're doing, but again, this is an ongoing problem. An ongoing problem. I don't give a crap what side of the fence you sit on coronavirus. A hoax? Fine. A pandemic worthy of canceling football? Fine. Whatever side it is, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Your opinions don't matter. Whose opinions matter? The NFL. And if the NFL is going to either pause to let all this go by, if they're going to keep pushing games off, well, then you have to roll with the punches, and you should have been prepared. And commissioners who weren't prepared, who are now scrambling for some sort of a solution, no offense, Fensty, I love you with all of my heart and all of my soul, but this should have been done this should have been done preseason. Preseason. Did you not learn anything from the MLB season? What's going on right now with the Titans is exactly what went down with the Marlins.
And I get you there. And you remember me, I'm Mr. COVID contingency plan. I remember July 3rd, we did this entire stream, COVID contingency plan. I had mine for the league. I did not have the exact language, though. And because we're still learning about how these leagues are reacting still, I'll say this, Howard, 24 hours in advance. Yes, you can make the benches bigger before the season. You can add IR spots. Here's the problem. I'm going to use Yahoo as an example. And I'm sorry, Yahoo, but I am going to use you as an example. A lot of people play on Yahoo and ESPN. So with that, I'm just going to do that. And if you don't like it, that's too damn bad. Don't be a site that has fantasy games on it. But here's the deal with Yahoo. So Adam Humphries actually had COVID. So he was labeled as such. You can put him on your IR spot. Let's just say, I'm just using him as an example. None of those other players, though, you can put on IR. No one from the Patriots, no one from the Chiefs. So those IR spots don't come in handy unless the player physically has COVID. And that's where it draws up a lot of confusion. What the hell do we do? Because it puts us between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, I mean that's really what you would have had to have done is just increase the bench size and say that normally your team can only carry 6 players. Even though you have 4 empty bench spots right now, those bench spots are reserved for only players who are involved in a postponed or canceled game because of COVID. I mean, the problem with that is that, well, I mean, that takes a little bit of extra work for the commissioner to have to sit there and look at everybody's team to make sure that they're not overstepping their bounds, that they're not cheating, so to speak. Like I went through this with one league over on ESPN because you could just, if a guy was out, listed as out, you could put him on IR. And that's really not what the IR spots are for.
Agreed.
But I had to go back, and now every week I have to make sure that nobody is moving out guys to IR unless it involves a COVID game. So, I mean, there you go. That's, the work ethic of anybody born basically after 1995, Justin. Where
the curse of 1990. Oh, everybody knows about it that talks to me.
They just don't want to do it.
They just don't want to do it. Prove me wrong. Anyone born in 1995, tremendous work ethic. Please prove me wrong. If I could be your motivation, great. We've made an impact in the world, Howard. So with that, I mean, still going over what to do here, I felt that as the commissioner, it was the right thing to do. And Howard, you said something on the live stream last week that I can't stop thinking about. I haven't been able to sleep because of it, but I've been able to make peace with it since. You said last week that these sites might not be ready, the decoding of the sites for whatever's thrown their way. Commissioners may actually have to do the math by themselves, taking out their TI-83 plus calculators there, and actually have to do the math themselves. And that pissed me off when you said that. I'm not going to lie. It's 2020. We have to do anything anymore? Yes, we do. But then after thinking about it, and I said, I'm going to run to Yahoo and ask them if they're prepared. I'm going to email them 1,000 times. I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be the flag bearer of this industry, and I'm going to make sure Yahoo's ready. But then I said to myself, you know what? I'm the commissioner. I've known exactly what I was walking into this entire time, months before fantasy football was even, my league was enacted, my league was brought back. You have to be ready as commissioner. You signed up for it. You knew what you were entering. That's my responsibility. If I have to do the math myself to make sure the league continues, that's just too darn bad. If you're a commissioner, you don't like it. And that's how I feel.
Well, I wouldn't stop writing the letters to Yahoo or ESPN. I mean, those are two companies that, listen, I get it. We get what we pay for. But with so many people playing mainstream ESPN and Yahoo, you'd think that you would make it a little bit more easy for your commissioners, right? Make the site a little customizable. Your ESPN and Yahoo, so it's Disney and Yahoo. You're telling me that you guys can't find a quick team of nerds, pay them for a week's worth of work of changing some coding around and adjusting it so that it makes it more customizable? That's the thing, is that the companies are just being lazy about it, and they're not allowing you to do it. So keep writing those letters. It took Andy Dufresne a letter a week for 3 years, all right, before he got his books at Shawshank. They even gave him some records, too. So you keep
some comics.
You keep emailing right there. I did get some comic books.
He
They
did
did.
get some comics book. And then what? Then he got a week in the box after that because he defied the warden, locked him out of his own office.
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? Hey, I'll tell you what we're gonna do here. We're gonna talk about some of the players that you could be targeting off of waivers because here's the thing, Howard. Unlike a lot of what we're used to, Saquon goes down, don't have to worry about him for the rest of the season. Christian McCaffrey, we knew that we were going to have a bunch of weeks. Now with Nick Chubb and Austin Eckler, they're not lost for the season. However, I have to say this. It was very difficult for me to come up with an exact figure that I was comfortable with putting on guys like Ernest Johnson, Justin Jackson, Joshua Kelly in my 12 leagues. Joshua Kelly in a 12-team league was still out there trying to figure out how much of my budget I put on him, and I really needed some running backs. So I guess we should start there, Howard, with Ernest Johnson, because you invented the AAF. And with that, we have to start with him because the number that I came up with, and again, this is in context, 12-team league, I needed a running back. And I'm talking actually needed the running back. I put 17 on him.
17 out of what?
1,000. 17 out of my remaining $93 that I have.
17. You ain't getting them.
No,
you ain't getting him.
I didn't get him.
I didn't think so. He probably went for a bid somewhere in like the 60s or 70s.
No, that was Josh Kelly. He went for 65. To your producer, Ani Sridhar, by the way.
There you go. What did Ernest go for?
I did not check how much he went for. All I know is that I didn't get him. I was too fixated on, wow, I was $30 off the Josh Kelly price. Ani got him for 65. I put in 35.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is, we're at a point right now where, I mean, how many more top running backs are going to go down where you're going to actually have the opportunity to grab their backups? Like, that's the thing. Mike Davis is already owned because of Christian McCaffrey and Devonta Freeman and whatever crap the Giants are rolling out there. That's already owned. Somebody's got Alex Madison if Dalvin Cook goes down. Right. Somebody's got, Boston Scott if Miles Sanders goes down. So really at this point right now, what are you waiting for? Like, so I mean, I put some obscene bids.
Oh yeah,
on Ernest Johnson and Justin Jackson.
Wait, in the host league, did you put over $800 on
Shamalama ding dong, baby? $848 on him. I had the full $1,000 left in my budget. What am I waiting for? I had Nick Chubb. I lost Nick Chubb. What am I gonna do? Right. Kareem Hunt ain't getting 20 carries a game. Right. It's just not going to happen.
I was going to ask you if you thought Ernest Johnson could average at least 10 carries a game.
Oh, dude, man.
They want to run the ball. They're not going to just change their entire scheme because Chubb's out.
I bought an Orlando Apollo's Ernest Johnson jersey, right? Just so I could wear it on Sundays now.
Wow, Reedy Ngolia is your biggest fan for a reason, Howard Bennett.
Oh, he was the best, right? Wasn't he? It was a good interview. Dude,
that was great. The play-by-play guys. I mean, yes, you got to get the beat writers on. I get it. They're watching. The play-by-play guys, where it's at.
They were definitely where it's at. So give it up for Ernest Johnson. Listen, I just, you know what? My grandma, all right, could run behind that Cleveland offensive line in that scheme. So you're telling me that Ernest Johnson isn't going to have value? We don't know what's going on with Josh Kelly and Justin Jackson. That could end up being a 50-50 split. We're not really sure. The team wants to prepare Joshua Kelly for more. He's fumbling a little bit, but we've seen Justin Jackson, him play. We've seen him play. I'm not saying we've seen his ceiling, but really, it's not that great. The offensive line is seriously banged up. So, you know what? I'd rather go after Ernest Johnson as a Nick Chubb owner and get, at least to start 30% of the touches out of the backfield with him behind that line when they're running and they're ahead. And I love him. Yeah. I love him.
See, and that's why we talk about it, because 17 was clearly not enough. And out of 1,000, what that would have translated to, I would have only gotten outbid by $650 by you for it. I was shocked, and I was like, wait a minute, what am I missing here? But you believe.
What are you missing? You're missing, Howard finally remembered that waivers were on Tuesday and not Wednesday.
I was proud of you for that, because normally with half the league, because of course we get emailed every single pickup that's made, all of a sudden people realize it's always at like 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern. You start seeing like Rick adding players and like half the league adding players. Like, oh man, I forgot. Wow. And that's just amazing. So that's the thing when you go into it. And this is big too, because now people are going to be throwing out Kareem Hunt in trades for ridiculous price tags. And I've been telling people, let's slow our rolls a little bit. Don't trade the top receiver that you have necessarily for Kareem Hunt. And based off what you're saying, a lot of casual players think that he's getting those 20 carries. And I don't think so. I'm with you on that, Howard. And there's definitely room for Johnson to work with there.
Yeah, I dig it, man. Listen, I think that there were some good running back free agents out there. I mean, you Justin Jackson, you got the Ernest Johnson. We dig that. In shallow leagues, 10-teamers, Chase Edmonds probably still available, right? Why wouldn't you try that? And then listen, if all else fails, if somebody dropped Damian Harris because he was hurt and they didn't have IR, and your league didn't have IR spots, Damian Harris sort of becomes a thing. You're still going to have Rex Burkhead there and James White there, but, at least you're getting a piece of the action there. And Damian Harris, you look at what the wide receivers who were available, and it was like garbage.
Yeah. Tim Patrick. Yeah, I'm going to put 200 on him.
Yeah. Right? Dude was amazing against the Jets.
I almost wore my Jets jersey to the stream, but I decided against it. I didn't want to make you sad. So instead you got Vince Carter because
I like the vintage Raptors jersey there. The Jets jersey, I just probably it'd be like sad clown, right? You'd have to put on like sad clown makeup.
It would be. By the way, the reason I'm wearing this is this could be the end of the road for the 2020 NBA season tomorrow night with the finals, meaning the final player from the 1990s, an era that made me a huge NBA and basketball fan. The final player from the 90s, Vince Carter, retired, meaning officially over. No more 90s players. So last stream potentially. I think the Lakers are ending this series tomorrow night, or Friday night rather. So Vince Carter, homage to you. So that is why, in case anyone cared, which probably none of you cared about. So
everybody cares. Everybody cares.
No, people want to hear us talking about how much to spend on Justin Jackson, who in a few leagues out of $100, I actually got him for 10, which I thought was going to be a little bit low, but he's a Band-Aid if I need. I don't have to necessarily start him, but if I see that he does get a decent amount of carries and they do split the carries 50-50 between him and Kelly, then okay, maybe I float him in my flex for a week or two. $10 a Band-Aid price, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that price. I just don't want to invest.
Right. I don't think $10 on a running back that could get 50% of the carries for a few weeks is investing.
I don't think so either. I mean, you're taking a shot. It's a little bit of a dart throw. It's contingency. Listen, sometimes it's the smaller moves, I mean, I tell that to people with trading all the time. You ever notice when somebody loses a player and they end up like making a trade, they're always going after the top guy. They're like, oh, I lost Nick Chubb, so I got to trade, Devontae Adams for whatever. Take your pick for Miles Sanders.
Right.
And I'm like, why don't you just take like, a lesser wide receiver, do like CeeDee Lamb and trade him for like Antonio Gibson, right? Maybe it's a little smaller than that. They don't have to go for like broke here. It's the same thing with waivers, I mean, set yourself up with contingency picks so that, if you miss out on the big guys because you don't have enough fab or whatever, you're at least taking a shot at, a stab at some of these little guys who may possibly pan out.
Right. And again, it really does suck to lose your top running back, to lose your first or second round pick. But play the short game. And that's the thing. Band-Aids are fine, but you have to continue doing it. If you have a player, let's just say you have someone like a Mike Davis who's doing well for you right now. You're probably sitting back. I'm good. You're not going to be good in a few weeks. Maintenance is such a virtue that goes very disrespected in fantasy football. I'm sure there's a lot of you right now that are all very happy, dancing around, shaking your shoulders because you're 4-0 and you think it's great and life is amazing, but you're missing out on opportunities to add to that maintenance factor. Your depth should be rotational, especially if it's not working out. Just because your starters are doing well, you haven't faced bye weeks yet.
Well, wait a minute.
I love this.
I gotta disagree with you here.
Sure.
For example, Marvin Jones, he sucks right now, right? He's terrible. But look at what's sitting out on your waiver wire right now. Like, is anybody who's sitting out on your waiver wire at this moment, do they have a higher floor and or ceiling than Marvin Jones? Like, if Marvin Jones, if the Lions come back from break and Stafford's slinging the rock and Kenny Galladay's here and Marvin's over here, like, do we not think that Marvin Jones is going to turn things around? Like, that's the thing, is that what I'm worried about when you say your bench should be, rotation, your depth should be rotational. You can't give up on guys who are underperforming right now unless there is a clear-cut reason. If you're like Marvin Jones is 31 years old and he's done, he's fallen off that cliff, then okay, fine. You're finished with him. But don't grab some flavor of the week. You're chasing, 9 points from Damier Bird, right? I mean, like, that's the thing. That's what a lot of people end up doing. And that wastes fab, right? I mean, that's the problem, is that you're wasting your fab dollars going after these guys because you're just trying to rotate up your depth. But really, you're just chasing last week's points by picking that guy up, and you could end up releasing. Like, this is the thing that I said about waivers for this week. My biggest job this week is to scour waivers from leagues that did everything on Tuesday. Do that this morning, and then on Thursday morning, and checking that out, because I want to see who everybody dropped, because everybody is now doing exactly what you're saying that they should do, and they're dropping quality players who are just completely underperforming right now. And that's how I'm going to end up scooping up better depth for me, by saying, oh, well, okay, go ahead. You drop Marvin Jones. I'll happily pick him up, and I will get rid of Kendrick Bourne.
Right, and I'm definitely not endorsing that. That's for sure. What I try to do with my teams, I mean, definitely not. No, I slap you in the face for suggesting that. No, but, I have to explain it better. I understand. No, sorry, Howard. Sorry, I probably shouldn't have done that. Okay, please don't call HR. But I will say this. When it comes to, I should have explained it a little bit more. Normally with my teams, what I do is I normally have one bench spot that normally has a wild card player. Sometimes you don't have that. Sometimes you just have a stacked bench and you don't have to make those pickups. I acknowledge that. I just want people to look at the waiver wire. That's really what it is. Looking, making sure you know what's out there, your watch list. When we have our own DFS watch list for DFS, you can have your own season-long watch list as well by making it. And that, I think, is more where I was gearing towards. Normally, I just have one player, one spot that's normally in rotation. So I will allow myself to make certain bids. But, yeah, I'm not forcing it on someone. These receivers are garbage. I mean, come on, Howard. I mean, some of the receivers that I put on the list here, Tim Patrick, Chenault, T. Higgins. I mean, T. Higgins, we're starting to see the targets go up for him. And I think everybody's starting to realize that A.J. Green, not the same guy as he was 3 years ago.
Oh, and I love that. I hate A.J. Green. I said to people in week 4 of last year, drop him. He's not doing anything for you, but taking up a roster spot. And what did idiots turn around? They're like, well, if he comes back and he plays real well, then I've got a great guy. Did he? No. So what'd you do? You wasted a roster spot. Well, I just put him on IR, and so it didn't do anything for me. Well, okay, fine. It didn't do anything for you. It was a useless move. It was a wasted draft pick or a wasted fab pickup. Whatever the case may be, it was a waste. And now coming into this year, like people are chasing 2014 AJ Green, right? They're not getting 2014 AJ Green. Stop chasing this guy. It's unbelievable. We've seen it. We've seen players who are falling off that over 30 cliff. And, maybe that is what's wrong with Marvin Jones, but that sure as hell is what's going on with AJ Green right now. And, I hate to say it because I was digging on him in the preseason, but man, freaking David Johnson is having a horrible time trying to turn the corner and get out to the outside edge. And, and maybe that is age coming with him. It's not, bum knees or anything like that. It's just age and declining skill set. So, Yeah, you can put AJ Green into that trash heap.
Well, here's what I didn't understand, and you're right, people were chasing 3 years ago, and even Ronas would say this to me, when this guy's on the field, he's this. Yeah, but he hasn't been on the field in 3 years for the most part. And here's the other thing. He was being drafted virtually next to Tyler Boyd. You saw it on our ADPs that we have as part of our tools at the site. Come on. It was right next to him. And I had no idea why. Why you don't go Tyler Boyd, the healthy option, every single time, 100 out of 100 times. The ADP on Tyler Boyd was one of the best values we had coming into the season, right next to AJ Green. And a good amount of you chose AJ Green, and I really didn't understand why. And no matter how many times I said it, no matter how many videos I put out, no matter how many times I screamed about it on streams and shows, it just seemed like it was going unnoticed, Howard. I mean, they were virtually right next to each other, and people were choosing AJ Green, and I had no idea why.
Please, believe me, with the number of idiots who fought me tooth and nail last year about AJ Green, nothing surprises me anymore. Folks will say, listen, these are the same people who thought, it was a savvy pickup of Antonio Brown in their drafts, right? And he started going earlier and earlier that was a wasted pick. Oh, I'm going to pick up Josh Gordon. Yeah, someday he'll get over it, right? Nah.
Talk about chasing 2014. I mean,
dude, it's ridiculous. It really, really is ridiculous. It bums me out. It makes me sad.
It really makes me sad too. Trust me, you want these guys to be good, yes, but you can't chase multiple years ago. You just can't. People age. They're not as good. Otherwise, why do you think it's someone like Michael Jordan? Why wouldn't he play forever if he's the greatest of all time? Because he can't play the game at that same level anymore. The body just breaks down. It happens. And especially in football as well. Now, a lot of you who on Twitter have been arguing with me about my thoughts about AJ Green going, oh, Fensty puffing out your chest when after week 2 he's getting targeted one after the other. Well, you're not watching the games because he looks like dog crap. I'm sorry, he does. And every time he falls, it's that same reaction you give when Anthony Davis falls. Did he break something? Because he's definitely had at least 2 games where he's taken a fall, and then he was pretty banged up after that. So for all those that are arguing with me about targets the first 2 weeks, A, look at the last 2 weeks, and B, you're not watching the games because he doesn't look like the same guy.
Dude, it's brutal. It's brutal. People just can't let that go. Listen, I won fantasy championships because of AJ Green years and years ago. You know what? I did the same thing with LaDainian Tomlinson. And guess what? If that dude comes out of retirement here, I'm not drafting him because it ain't going to happen.
Le'Veon Bell, he has to do better. This guy was a former top pick 4 years ago.
That's going to be a riot, dude. Have you been receiving
questions about what to do with him yet? Because now that he's getting off IR, I can only imagine the amount of trade for Le'Veon Bell questions we're going to get.
We're going to get a ton. We're going to get an absolute ton. And you know what? Listen, he's going to get 70% of the touches out of that backfield. So, I mean, is that better than, some of these other possible guys? Yeah, probably. But I would keep the expectations real, real low because somehow, some way, Adam Gase is going to be like, and then shove it right up your butt.
Oh, that's how it goes. Hopefully the Jets follow suit with what the Texans did. Hopefully. Yeah, right. That's gonna happen. Final player I want to bring up here because it's been scaring me. I don't admit this is the type of situation that makes me wonder how much you're actually retaining of all the information that you get on fantasyalarm.com. Spending on Robert Tonyan. I get it. He's like the top tight end in fantasy football from all the touchdowns he's been scoring. I understand the appeal. But to come and ask us if you should spend 70% of your budget, I mean, that's a tall order, Howard. And in a lot of leagues, again, it all goes into context how deep your league is, how many bench spots you have. But I would not spend $70 on Robert Tonyan out of 100, Howard. So how much would you tell people that really want the tight end and really want him and believe in him long term to spend on him?
All right. Well, I mean, here you go. Will Tanyan be targeted again in the future? Yes, he will. All right. We've seen him targeted while Davante Adams was there. He's not going to see the same targets. He's not going to have another 3-touchdown game. That's silly. Is he worth dropping Hayden Hurst? No, I mean, probably not. I mean, I would probably put them, very similarly to each other. Like I said, start Tanyan this week over Hayden Hurst because that was like the big question I kept getting the entire time, Fence. It was Hurst or Tanyan.
That's hard.
Well, and I was like, at that point, I was like, Atlanta's given up 4 touchdown passes to tight ends so far this season. You got to go with the odds of Tanyan, especially with Davante Adams out, right? I said that. Boom, he hits. I'm the tight end whisperer all over again. Yada, yada, yada. That and 250 will get me a subway ride in New York City. Neither way, he will continue to be targeted throughout the season. He's like right about that same. He's not going to see the targets that a Kelsey or a Kittle or a Darren Waller or a Mark Andrews is going to see. He is basically that same interchangeable tight end that you're seeing right now, even with like Hurst and Jonnu Smith, guys who I absolutely love this year. But, so I would put Tanyan like at that level. So if you've got one of those guys, and even Evan Engram, who now that the crap schedule is over for the Giants and they've got a couple of easy matchups, I put Evan Engram even in with that Hurst and Jonnu and Robert Tanyan thing. All right, if those are the guys who you have at tight end, then, I mean, why bother making the move? You're just spinning your wheels.
What about Mike Gesicki?
Well, Gesicki I rank in there too. Yeah. I put Gesicki in there as well. But I mean, like if you're sitting here, let me go to the weekly rankings here over at fantasyalarm.com/NFL/rankings, brought to you by the wonderfully delicious Adam Ronis.
Good plug.
Thank you. So here you go. So he's not, if I've got Kittle, Kelsey, Andrews, or Waller, I'm not picking up Tanyan. If I have Zach Ertz, Hunter Henry, Evan Engram, Hayden Hurst, Jonnu Smith, Tyler Higbee, Mike Gesicki, those 7, then I'm not going after Tanyan. You're not really getting any kind of an upgrade. But if you're talking about Austin Hooper, Dalton Schultz, Logan Thomas, Jimmy Graham, Mo Alley Cox, yeah, go ahead, swap out for Tanyan. Now, if you're putting in bids tonight, you can keep it reasonably sensible, only because he's got a bye week, and most people aren't going to sit there and pick up a guy who's on a bye week. But you have to pay attention who really needs the tight end. And if you don't need to make the move, then don't make the move. Stop chasing the 3-touchdown game because you're never gonna see it again. Never.
Oh, it's true. It's damn true when it comes to that. No, but for those that did start Tanyan, a lot of you did reach out via Twitter for Alarm After Hours. Congratulations to all of you, especially with a lot of the impactful injuries that were hanging in the balance for Monday night. Davante Adams, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, all right, move along, dude. Sore spot for me in my GST league, which is a high stakes league. I had a nice healthy lead and Tyreek Hill still to go. The idiot playing me, well, he's not an idiot because he started Robert Tanyan.
Wow.
Ended up beating me by like 7 points.
Okay, we'll just stop talking then.
Thanks so much.
Oh, sorry about that. It's
okay.
All right, don't want to get fired over here. He's Howard Bender. I'm Justin Festerman. Fantasy Alarm Sports Talk. Catch Howard on Fantasy Alarm on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio all week long, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. You can catch me with Adam Ronis tonight, 1 a.m. Eastern for Alarm After Hours. Fantasy Alarm. Hey, we always dominate. Catch the Rotobuzz guy at Rotobuzz guy at Fence D Sports. We always dominate. No other option. We just win with all of you.